Hello. Hi, guys. Oh, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, TEDx, and thank you, Jai Hind College, and thank you, ma'am and sir. My name is Vikas, and I'm the founder for the School for European Pastry and Culinary Arts. We are based out of Mumbai, and we recently started in Gurgaon. Uh, been in the pastry industry or hospitality industry for almost 32 years now. And I've been associated with baking and pastry since I remember. Baking and pastry is something that is very, very close to me. A lot of people ask me, what do you do? What work do you do? I don't know. I don't work. I have never worked in my life. We had two sessions just now, one from finance and another from a very deep-minded lady. And my session is going to be very chilled out because I've never worked in my life. I'm just here having fun. I had fun all my life because I work with cookies, chocolates, ice creams, desserts, cakes, you name them. And if you're going to work with that, bake that, eat that, and get paid for it, I don't know if you can call that as a work. That's what I do. And baking and pastry is something I started long back. I started my career just across the street here. I worked with the Oberoi Hotels for 16 years. And after Oberoi Hotels, during my stint with the Oberoi Hotels, I also opened the Trident Bandra Kurla, Mumbai, where I was there for 4 years. My job at the later part was training and development. So Oberoi Hotels has OCLD, which is Oberoi Learning and Development Center. I would help them there in training and development for the young chefs who was coming, setting standards for baking and pastry. Besides that, I also work with the Leela Kempinski Mumbai for a short stint. And in between, I went to the US. I was working there for a couple of years. I came back. I joined the Marriott Hotels. With the Marriott, I was working for 3 years as Southeast Asia Pacific in charge, looking after Southeast Asia and India hotels, opening Marriott hotels, training and development. This is about my work experience where I had fun, no work. And during pastry work, one thing which always pushed me was competition. And something which was very close to me. I love to do competitions. I love to push myself and do something different. Because कुछ तो काम करना है ना, वही daily काम कर रही है. I really didn't enjoy that. So I did pastry competitions quite a lot. I think that's where I learned myself and I learned how to push yourself to get better every day because I think competitions teach you a lot. I don't think I lost any competition. Thankfully, there was not too much competition back then. And I won all the competitions that I could think of or I could compete in India at that time. Thank you. And since I did win all the competitions, automatically I went abroad. And I was the first Indian pastry chef to represent our country at the World Chocolate Masters at the Paris. But that's where reality hit me. You've seen Chak De. And that was my Chak De moment. So when I reached there with two suitcases. And I did not have a mentor, I did not have a teacher, I did not have a colleague, I did not have anything. I had my wife as my partner, and she was assisting me in the competition. And I remember we were in the practice area where there was a big table with the Indian flag there, me and my wife doing my work there, and there were 7 other countries. We had Australia, New Zealand, we had Macau, Singapore, because this competition happened in Taiwan. And these competitors came with huge cargo, huge. And they had around team members of 10, 12 people working with them, and me and my wife working together on the table, trying to put things together and make sure it works. Then I started talking to these guys, said, how are you guys training like this, and where are you guys come from, and how does it work overseas, because in India we've never done this. Then Zat told me that they come from pastry schools, and they have specialized pastry training programs where the candidate is taught, trained, and then they represent the country, and they come here. I said, okay. And I did my work. I did my best, whatever I could do. We were 11 participants. I stood fourth in that competition there. I came back. And that is when I realized that India should also have a pastry school where someone who participates from India goes there, should not go through the hardship that I went through. I did some more competitions, and I was a world chocolate master for 6 consecutives in India. Doing that, I also won the Best Pastry Chef award few times. And I remember when Mr. Narendra Modi came into power, he had started World Skills. And for World Skills also, I was one of the juries representing the pastry art and training young professionals to go abroad and start training for baking and pastry. Uh, this is something about my journey. One more thing, what hit me was the evolution that happens in pastry. When I started, people probably were not well traveled. That was 30 years back. The pastry evolution was just coming to play. And to make a change, that time was a little difficult for people to understand or people to make realize, understand. I've got some points which I'm going to refer to because I don't want to overshoot the time. And I'm very scared that I don't want to take over the next participant's time over. So the first issue that we had when the pastry was evolving was taste. Because our taste buds were very sweet. We come from a place where we like to eat Indian food, Indian desserts with rasmalais, rasgullas, jalebis. And European pastry are kind of less on sweet. So people took time back then to appreciate the dessert. So the taste was one factor. Second factor was ingredient and climate. Well, European desserts were made with a certain type of butter, certain type of cream, certain type of chocolate and couverture, which was not easily available back then in India. So finding the right resources and the right ingredients was always a challenge which hindered the growth of pastry in India and to get a right change in India. Today's day and age, we have everything that we need, but it took time, it did not happen over time. So even the climate, overseas, the climatic conditions are very different from what we have in India. It's hot and humid. So to work with a certain ingredient was always a challenge, which is kind of getting better, I would say, nowadays, with the infrastructure of AC and refrigeration system that we have all around. Third was the perception of people. People always thought pastry was just an art, it should look good, but they never realized the amount of precision and the science that goes behind creating the right kind of pastry here. That took us time, and schools like us, we had to educate people to understand what goes behind making a pastry which stands out, and it also has certain scientific approach to it to make it consistent and to the right palate as possible. So this was a journey which took some time. That's the reason we are still evolving in pastry industry, and it is going to evolve further, I'm sure. There are a few myths about pastry which I also want to talk about. First of all, people think it's not about pastry, it's just about hospitality industry. The biggest myth that people have is it's very glamorous. It looks very glamorous from outside, but trust me, it is hard work. It may be glamorous for people who are coming and eating there, but as you as a professional who is going to work, or as an entrepreneur who is going to start a pastry business, it looks good on Instagram, but what goes behind the Instagram is what something I can tell you. You're going to work on 31st night. You're going to work on Diwali. You're going to work on Christmas. You're going to work on birthdays. You're going to work on all the festivals that they are there. When your friends and family is going to party, you're going to make the cake for them. At 12:30 in the night, when 31st night happens, everyone's out there celebrating. You are standing behind the counter and making sure the cake is baked and the dessert is on the table at the right time. that time, sorry. So yeah, it looks glamorous from outside, but it is a hard work. Anyone can become a pastry chef. I hear this. In today's day and age, with YouTube and with books and recipes available, people think they can open a book, copy a recipe, and make a cake. But trust me, it does not work. If that would happen, our pastry school will be shutting down and nobody will go to pastry schools. Because pastry is not just about copying a recipe. There's a lot to it about understanding ingredients, lot to it to understand why this happens, and each and every ingredient plays a precise role. Unless you understand the ingredients and what is the role of each and every ingredient, there is no way that you can put a recipe together and make sure that you have a consistent product. I know people follow YouTubes and follow books, but every time a cake fails, they don't know why. Because there is a lack of education and understanding of science of baking and pastry. The third part is pastry is more of a decoration. That's what people feel, and I already covered. Looks good, but there is a lot of science, there's a lot of precision, there's a lot of hard work that goes behind to make sure that the pastry looks good but tastes equally good. There are a few metaphors that I've put, which I wanted to share with you, and also like life lessons that we have in baking and pastry that I take out. Uh, One is life skills and knife skills. So life skills and knife skills, I feel, go very much hand in hand. First, life skills are depending on your knife skills because as a pastry chef, you got to understand how to handle your knife. Or even as a chef, you got to understand how a life works. If you don't sharpen your knife really well, you can cut your hand. You do not get the right cut. If you don't sharpen yourself and practice on the knife, you're not going to get the product right on the table the way you want. And that is exactly what happens in your life. If you do not sharpen your skills, no matter which stream you're from, whether you're a pastry chef, whether you're a cricketer, you're a sports person, you are in industry or any sort, you have to make sure that you practice your skill every day. And that's only way to succeed. Skill is acquired, skill has to be practiced, and skill has to be worked upon every day. It's an investment that you have to do day in and day out, and only then when you get the returns out of it. Next is heat of the kitchen. Heat of the kitchen, what I would feel is something that we face every day. You have to make sure that you are knowing what is happening in the kitchen. You have to work under pressure. You have to deliver under pressure because kitchen will work under a lot of stress. Like I have the stress of this watch going in front of me and I'm looking at that, I finish on time. And this happens in lifetime also. No matter where you are, you always have deadlines. You always have limits. You always have to stick to boundaries and you have to deliver on time. There is no excuse of getting late. I cannot be standing here कि मेरा 2 मिनट ज़्यादा हो गया. I have to make sure I stick to my deadlines and I deliver on time every time. That's most important. I don't like to be called this is Indian standard time and you guys are late and you guys are known to be late. It should not happen like that. Next thing is cooking without a recipe and magic that happens. I always believe you can cook without a recipe and I believe that you do not have to have a recipe. At School for Food and Pastry, we teach students not to depend on recipes. Because I believe and I know if I give one recipe to 10 students here, I'm going to get 10 different results. And that happens every time. Because if you blindly follow the recipe, you are not going to get the product right. You have to go with your gut feeling. You have to understand your ingredients. You have to understand the processes. You have to understand the science behind it. And apply all those things in the recipe to get a consistent result every time. It does not work on the recipe. And this is exactly for your life. Life does not come with a recipe. For each and every individual has a different recipe. If I had a recipe for being happy, I'd be happy to hand this recipe to each and every one of you and everyone will be happy. But there is no recipe for a life. You have to build your life around your experiences, building your box, having foundations, work on yourself, and make sure that each and every day that you do, you strive to get better and better. You make sure you have your notes in the evening, you tick your boxes that this is the task I have completed, and this is the things to do as to start in the morning, to have the right discipline. And that's the recipe for success. You got to be very, very, very disciplined. Make sure that you finish your work, what you're supposed to do for the day, plan ahead, have your building blocks sorted, make sure basic foundation right. Do not go for something that you cannot achieve before you have your foundation put into place. And that's, I think, is very, very important in life. So these are some of the points that I had noted down. And I hope I made some sense to you guys and inspired a few people to get these things forward. If you want to have fun, please come to my school. We always have cookies, cakes, chocolates, and desserts. And I would love to share a cup of coffee with you. Thank you so much.